Yeah.
in English time with UBTV. So this is going to be the fourth episode.
Yeah.
So this will be more interesting than the last or the previous episode.
Yeah.
I bet. So,
Yeah.
do you know what are we going to discuss or to talk about today?
Okay, today we are going to discuss about many ICT media for teaching and learning reading. Yeah.
So it's quite good for like us English learners to like learn reading skill.
Of course.
Okay, so the more you read, the more you can be the expert of
Yeah.
reading.
You can increase your reading proficiency.
Okay, that's right. Okay, so for the first, we have like this is a talking book.
Talking book.
Yeah, it's English talking book. Actually, like you can find like any audio book in this source, English talking book. You can find it on YouTube through YouTube, and like it's very interesting. Like the princess and the frog prince. Yeah, it's a visual media.
Visual media.
Yeah, so you have a book, but the book can read by itself.
Oh.
That's interesting, right?
Of
So
course.
you don't need to read, you just listen it. Even though you can only listen it,
Yeah.
but you have to read because this is a reading skill. Will increase your reading skill. Okay, so let's check the princess and the frog prince.
The Frog Prince. In a kingdom far, far away, there lived a beautiful princess. Every morning, she used to go to the palace gardens and play with the golden ball. It was her most favorite thing. One day, she threw the ball too far and it fell into the palace fountain. The princess began to cry. "Oh no," she said, "the water is too deep for me to find my golden ball." A frog who lived in the pond heard the princess crying. It said, "Don't worry, princess, I will find your ball. But in return, you must take me back to the palace with you. Love me, let me eat from your plate, and let me sleep in your bed." The princess thought, "What an ugly creature this talking frog is. I don't want to take it to the castle." Yet she agreed. The frog jumped into the water, brought the ball out, and gave it to her. At once she grabbed the ball and ran away. That night there was a loud knock on the palace door. It was the frog. "Open the door, princess. You must keep your promise and let me live with you," it said loudly. The princess ran to her father to tell him everything that had happened. The king listened to her carefully and said, "You must keep your word. Now go and let the frog in." As soon as the princess opened the door, the frog hopped right in, croaking happily. "Please lift me up and let me sit on the chair next to you," he said. The princess unhappily did so. At dinner time, the frog reminded the princess, "You said you will let me eat from your plate. Now please, put your plate close to me." The princess was horrified. "How can I eat from the same plate as a dirty frog?" she thought. But she could not go back on her word now. After the frog had filled its stomach, it said, I am tired. I want to go up and sleep on your soft bed." The princess hated to touch the frog, but she carried it and carefully placed it on the pillow. For 3 days, the frog went everywhere with the princess. They ate, played, and slept together. Slowly, the princess began to grow very fond of the little frog. Then, one fine morning, when the princess woke up, she saw that the frog was no longer on her pillow. In its place was a handsome young prince. "Thank you, princess, for turning me back into a person," he said with a smile. The prince told her that he had been turned into a frog by a wicked witch who had cursed him to live like an ugly frog till he met a kind girl who would love him, let him eat from her plate, and sleep on her bed. Before long, the frog prince and the princess were married, and they happily ruled their kingdom for many, many years to come.
Audiobook.
Yeah, audiobook.
Yeah, the audiobook is very interesting. It's mesmerizing, of course, easy listening, and also easy to understand, especially for us, like English learners and beginner.
It can can increase our reading proficiency.
Yeah, reading skill. It will increase. Of course, it will increase our reading skill. So yeah, after this we have oral reading.
Oral reading. Okay.
So it's not only thinking out loud, just like Sharon has, but you should have reading out loud, or it should be reading aloud. Only reading aloud. Yeah. So by reading aloud, you can, of course, obviously increase your reading skill in any media, just like poetry, stories, or maybe you can also like reading English subtitle when you are watching
A movie. Okay.
any kinds of movie, even cartoon or horror movies.
Oh, Mama maybe?
Mama, kind of. Okay, guys, without any further ado, let's check all of the video out.
Sea by K. I just keep swimming in the sea with heavy, ragged breaths. In the sea, where all the things are blending together, creating this mess, this sea of despair. Sea where nothing stands out, where everything is gray and cold, where nothing feels secure and safe. Where I constantly try to keep my head over the surface, float on those uncertain, uncontrollable waves. Where all I can think is, please, those waves stay evenly stable. Please, I beg, please don't turn into that threatening, big and dark wave. Please don't turn into abrupt wave that consumes my whole self, that pulls me with that cruel, brutal power violently under the surface. I'm tired of this floundering. Anything doesn't change. I just keep mindlessly swimming. I just keep mindlessly hopping from one thing to another, barely noticing what I'm doing. The image of that colorful, sunny island full of life and vividness, is slowly fading from my mind. The island where moving, progressing is much more easier, where you can take much lighter steps. I can't imagine that island soon. It's blurring more and more in my head all the time. It's impossible to picture it soon. It's impossible to picture escape from this sea, from this hell. Or actually, there is that one escape route. The route is just obscure and frightening, but it doesn't lead to any island. It doesn't lead to solid ground, away from these uncertain waves. It leads deeper to this sea, away from this reality. The route leads to unknown. It seems frightening, but at the same time, it's hopeful promise. It's promise that this pain in this world will end. The Black-Eyed Children by Alia Gonzalez. Chapter 1. The Beginning. On one cold night, Chris was just laying in his bed watching TV. Then suddenly, there was a knock on the door. It was 12 o'clock at night, so it was pretty strange to have someone be out this late at night, especially having company this so late. "Who is it?" said Chris. But no one responds. Chris thought it was probably some kids playing a prank on him. So he thought if he didn't answer the door, they will go away. Then there was a knock on the door again. Chris got annoyed, so he got out of his bed to go answer the front door. Chris opened the door to find two children just standing there, looking down at the floor, not saying a word. Then finally, one of the children spoke. "May we come in?" asked the little boy. Chris felt nervous at first, but they were children, about the age of 6 or 7. Chapter 2. The Reveal of the Eyes. Sure, come in," said Chris nervously. Then, without saying another word, the children walked into the house. The children just sat on the couch, still looking down at the floor. "So, where are your parents?" But Chris was cut off by the children. "Will you help us?" asked the children. "With what?" asked Chris, confused. "We lost our parents. Can we stay here until they come, find and get us?" asked the children at the same time. Sure. I will be right back," said Chris. But the children didn't move or say anything. Before Chris left, the children quickly looked up at him, just staring. Chris's eyes widened by what he saw. The children's eyes, they were all black. It was really unusual for children to have black eyes. "I will be right back," said Chris, with the nervousness in his voice. Chris quickly and quietly ran upstairs and bolted to his computer. He went to search up the words "children with black eyes." Chapter 3. The Truth. Only one result came up with the words "black-eyed children." Chris clicked on the link to the website and it said, "Children with black eyes are called the black-eyed children. Legend has it, if you ever let the black-eyed children into your home, bad luck will start to happen. Soon after, the children will start to say, 'Our parents will be coming soon. Do you want to meet them?'" There was no more to the website about the children. Chris just sat there in his chair staring at his computer, not moving a muscle. The look on Chris's was the look of fear. After about 2 minutes of Chris staring at his computer doing nothing, he got up from his chair and walked back downstairs. Sorry I took so long, said Chris. The children still didn't say a word. They just stared at him, doing nothing. Chapter 4. Things start to go down. Then Chris suddenly felt something dripping from his nose. It was blood. Chris didn't know why he suddenly has a nosebleed. It was probably one of the bad lucks the website was talking about. Then there was a knock on the door. Who is it? Asked Chris, scared and worried. But there was no one reply. There was another knock on the door that gave Chris goosebumps and sent shivers down his spine. Our parents are here, said the children. Chris quickly looked at the children and then back at the door. He went to go open the door, but out of nowhere, the door was suddenly pushed open and its own was a massive force. Then suddenly the same powerful force pushed Chris all the way back hard and made him hit his back into the wall. Chris was only had a minimum amount of strength to look up to see who was at the door, to see two shadowy figures holding the hands of the two little children. After the children and mysterious figures left, Chris felt something dripping from his eyes. It was the blood again, but this time the blood wasn't red, it was black. Chris figured it was the black-eyed children who must have done all this. Chris went to look back up at the door. Chris then had the full strength to get up from the ground and run to the front door to close and lock it. Chris vowed that he will never open the door at night ever again, even for the strange children.
What do you think about audiobook and oral reading?
Those are very interesting. I love the way ICT show us that learning English is not always hard.
Okay.
ICT provide us many media that can make us learn easily.
Increase your reading skill.
Can get along with English, especially in reading skill.
Yeah.
And yeah, I hope that, and we hope that you guys will get something in this episode, and also from the previous episode, that reading is so important this day.
Okay.
And for the next episode, we have what episode?
This is a writing episode.
Yeah, it's writing episode. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned on UBTV, and we will see and we will go back, to give you interesting media.
Some interesting media.
Okay, so I want to sing.
Okay, you can.
Okay. So reading.